Global updates.
Welcome to the Global Updates, bringing you the latest news from around the world. Neighbors and Partners, a legacy of cooperation. Written by John Ibbotson. The United States and Canada. Two nations separated by a border that has often been described as a line on a map rather than a true division. For generations, the relationship has been defined by cooperation, shared values, and a deep economic partnership. From the early days of trade to the close military alliances of the 20th century, the two countries have stood together. This history of collaboration makes the recent escalation of trade tensions all the more jarring. The economies of the two countries are deeply intertwined. Canada is America's largest trading partner, with billions of dollars in goods and services flowing across the border every day. This interconnectedness has fostered prosperity on both sides of the border. It has also created a shared understanding of the importance of a stable and predictable trading relationship. This long-standing partnership, however, has faced significant challenges in recent years. Trade tensions rise, the Trump era and its aftershocks. The period marked by Donald Trump's presidency was one of significant upheaval and change, particularly in the realm of international trade. The Trump administration's decision to impose tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, citing national security concerns, marked a turning point in the relationship. This move was part of a broader strategy to protect American industries and reduce trade deficits. Canada, long accustomed to being viewed as a trusted ally and trading partner, was blindsided by the move. The sudden imposition of tariffs created a sense of betrayal and confusion among Canadian officials. The tariffs were widely seen as unjustified and harmful to both economies. Economists warned that such protectionist measures could lead to a trade war, with negative repercussions for industries and consumers on both sides of the border. The Canadian government, led by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, responded with retaliatory tariffs on a range of American goods. These measures were designed to send a strong message to the Trump administration. These tariffs were carefully chosen to target products produced in states that were politically important to President Trump. By doing so, Canada aimed to create domestic pressure within the United States to reconsider the tariffs. The goal was to exert economic pressure and force the Trump administration to reconsider its protectionist policies. The hope was that the economic pain inflicted on key constituencies would lead to a change in policy. The trade dispute escalated further with the imposition of tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber. This sector had long been a point of contention between the two countries. This long-running dispute, which dates back decades, was reignited by the Trump administration's decision to impose duties on Canadian lumber imports. The renewed conflict brought back memories of past trade battles. The tariffs had a significant impact on the Canadian lumber industry, leading to job losses and mill closures. The economic fallout was felt deeply in communities dependent on the lumber trade. The trade war between the United States and Canada was a stark departure from the decades of cooperation and economic integration that had characterized the relationship. The two nations had long enjoyed a mutually beneficial trade partnership. The dispute highlighted the fragility of even the closest of alliances in the face of nationalist economic policies. It underscored how quickly trust and cooperation could be eroded by unilateral actions. It also served as a cautionary tale about the potential consequences of protectionism for global trade and economic growth. The ripple effects of such policies can extend far beyond the immediate parties involved, affecting global markets and economic stability. Canada bites back retaliation and roadblocks. Canada's response to the U.S. tariffs was not limited to tit-for-tat measures. The Canadian government also began exploring more unconventional ways to pressure the United States. One of the most controversial proposals involved imposing tolls on key highways connecting the U.S. mainland to Alaska. The Alaska Highway, built during World War II, runs through British Columbia and is a vital artery for the transportation of goods and people to and from the state. Canada's proposal to impose tolls on this highway was seen as a way to leverage its geographic position and exert economic pressure on the United States. The proposal was met with mixed reactions. Some Canadians applauded the government for taking a tough stance against what they saw as American bullying. Others, however, expressed concerns about the potential economic fallout and the risk of further escalating tensions. In addition to the proposed highway tolls, Canada also explored other options for increasing its leverage in the trade dispute. These included diversifying its trade relationships, seeking closer ties with other countries, and challenging U.S. tariffs through the World Trade Organization. Economic casualties. Industries, workers, and consumers feel the pinch. The trade war between the United States and Canada had a significant impact on both economies, creating a ripple effect that was felt across various sectors. Industries on both sides of the border were affected by the tariffs, leading to job losses, reduced investment, and higher prices for consumers. The manufacturing sector, in particular, saw a significant downturn as companies struggled to cope with the new economic realities. In the United States, the tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum led to higher costs for manufacturers that relied on these imports. This increase in production costs was eventually passed down to consumers, affecting the prices of everyday goods. This, in turn, led to higher prices for consumers on a range of goods, from cars to appliances. The increased costs made it more difficult for families to afford essential items, putting additional strain on household budgets. The tariffs also resulted in job losses in the U.S. steel and aluminum industries, as domestic producers struggled to compete with cheaper imports from other countries. Many workers found themselves unemployed, facing an uncertain future. In Canada, the impact of the trade war was felt most acutely in the steel, aluminum, and lumber industries. These sectors experienced significant disruptions, leading to reduced activity and financial instability. The tariffs imposed by the United States led to job losses and mill closures in these sectors. Workers who had been employed for years suddenly found themselves without a source of income, struggling to make ends meet. The Canadian government provided financial assistance to affected workers and businesses, but the overall impact on the economy was significant. Despite these efforts, many communities faced long-term economic challenges. The trade war also had a ripple effect on other sectors of the economy, as businesses and consumers adjusted their spending in response to the uncertainty and higher prices. Small businesses, in particular, struggled to stay afloat as consumer spending declined. The dispute highlighted the interconnectedness of the U.S. and Canadian economies and the potential consequences of disrupting the close trading relationship between the two countries. It served as a reminder of how deeply intertwined the two nations are, economically and socially. Beyond the balance sheet. Cultural and environmental costs. The trade war between the United States and Canada was not just an economic dispute. It also had significant cultural and environmental implications. The close relationship between the two countries, built on shared values and a common history, was strained by the rhetoric and actions of both governments. The dispute led to a rise in nationalist sentiment on both sides of the border, as people rallied around their respective flags and blamed the other country for the economic hardship. This rise in nationalism threatened to undermine the close cultural ties that had long united the two countries. The trade war also had environmental implications. The Trump administration's decision to withdraw from the Paris Agreement on climate change created a rift with Canada, which remained committed to the agreement's goals. The dispute over softwood lumber also had environmental consequences, as it led to increased logging in some areas. The trade war highlighted the complex and interconnected nature of the relationship between the United States and Canada. It showed that economic disputes can have far-reaching consequences, affecting not just businesses and consumers, but also the cultural fabric and environmental health of both countries. The Alaskan Artery, a strategic pressure point. Canada's proposal to impose tolls on highways connecting the contiguous United States to Alaska was a strategic move designed to exploit a key vulnerability in American infrastructure. This proposal was not just about generating revenue. It was a calculated maneuver to leverage a critical point of dependency. The Alaska Highway, in particular, is a vital artery for the state, carrying essential goods, fuel, and military supplies. This route is indispensable for the daily functioning and security of Alaska, making it a lifeline for the region. By threatening to disrupt the flow of traffic along this route, Canada aimed to exert pressure on the United States and force it to reconsider its protectionist trade policies. The potential for significant delays and increased costs was a powerful bargaining chip. The move was a calculated gamble, recognizing the strategic importance of the highway while also understanding the potential for escalation. It was a high-stakes game of geopolitical chess, where each move could have far-reaching consequences. The proposal also highlighted the interconnectedness of the two countries, not just in terms of trade, but also in terms of infrastructure and geography. The shared border and mutual dependencies made the situation even more complex and delicate. The Alaska Highway, built during World War II as a joint effort between the United States and Canada, stands as a testament to the historical cooperation between the two nations. This historical context added another layer of significance to the current tensions. The threat of tolls on this vital route served as a stark reminder of the potential for economic disputes to spill over into other areas, impacting not just trade, but also national security and strategic interests. The implications were far-reaching, affecting both nations' economies and their military logistics. It underscored the need for a swift resolution to the trade war and a return to a more cooperative relationship between the two countries. The stakes were high, and the need for diplomacy and mutual understanding had never been more critical. The political ripples of the border closure. The decision to close the border between Canada and Alaska sent shockwaves through both nations' political landscapes. This closure, initially framed as a necessary measure to bolster national security and public health, quickly morphed into a contentious political issue. Pause 2s. Images of empty border checkpoints and deserted highways underscore the gravity of the situation. The closure disrupted not only the flow of goods and people, but also the intricate web of political relationships that had been carefully cultivated over decades. Pause 2s. Video clips of press conferences and parliamentary debates reveal the mounting tensions. In the United States, politicians from border states voiced their concerns loudly, arguing that the closure was a direct affront to their regional economies and constituents. Alaskan representatives, in particular, were vocal, highlighting the severe impact on their state's supply chain and the daily lives of their citizens. Pause 2s. Across the border, Canadian lawmakers faced their own set of challenges. The closure was defended as a necessary step to ensure the nation's security and public health, but it also sparked a debate about the broader implications for Canada's international relationships. Pause 2s. Footage of Canadian Prime Minister addressing the nation emphasizes the delicate balancing act. The political discourse was not just about immediate economic impacts, but also about the long-term strategic alignment of Canada. The closure became a litmus test for the country's stance on sovereignty and its willingness to stand firm in the face of external pressures. Pause 2s. The border closure also had significant ramifications for Indigenous communities that straddle the border. Video interviews with Indigenous leaders bring a human element to the narrative, highlighting the disruption of traditional practices and the severing of familial ties that had spanned generations. Pause 2s. The political ramifications of the border closure extended beyond the immediate region. Internationally, allies and adversaries alike watched closely, gauging the resolve and resilience of both nations. The closure became a focal point in the broader geopolitical struggle, influencing diplomatic negotiations and strategic alliances. Pause 2s. As the political discourse intensified, it became clear that the border closure was more than just a temporary measure. It was a symbol of the shifting dynamics in North American politics. The need for a diplomatic resolution grew ever more urgent as the political costs of the closure continued to mount. Pause 2s. In the end, the border closure served as a stark reminder of the complex interplay between national security, public health, and political strategy. It highlighted the need for nuanced and collaborative approaches to addressing shared challenges. The political ripples of the closure would be felt for years to come, shaping the future of Canada-US relations in profound and unpredictable ways. Pause 2s. The stakes were high and the path forward uncertain. But one thing was clear: the political landscape of North America had been irrevocably altered, and the consequences of the border closure would continue to reverberate across the continent, charting a path forward. As the dust begins to settle, the focus shifts to potential future scenarios and resolutions regarding the border closure. While the impact has been profound, there is hope on the horizon. Imagery of diplomats shaking hands and communities rebuilding captures the spirit of cooperation and renewal. Experts suggest that a phased reopening of the border could be a viable solution. This approach would balance public health concerns with the need to restore economic and social ties. Pause 2s. Visuals of border checkpoints gradually reopening and people reuniting underscore the cautious optimism. Pause 2s. Another potential scenario involves leveraging technology to enhance border security while facilitating the flow of goods and people. Advanced screening methods and real-time data sharing could provide a robust framework for a secure yet open border. Footage of technological innovations and smart border systems highlights the possibilities. Diplomatic efforts are also gaining momentum. Bilateral talks aimed at finding a mutually agreeable solution have been initiated, with both nations expressing a commitment to collaborative problem-solving. Pause 2s. Clips of high-level meetings and joint press conferences reflect the renewed spirit of partnership. Indigenous communities, deeply affected by the closure, are being included in the dialogue. Their voices and perspectives are crucial in shaping a future that respects their traditions and rights. Gigaos. Interviews with Indigenous leaders discussing their hopes and expectations bring a personal and heartfelt dimension to the narrative. Environmental considerations are also part of the conversation. Efforts to reopen the border are being aligned with sustainable practices to ensure that economic recovery does not come at the cost of ecological health. Pause 2s. Imagery of green initiatives and conservation projects emphasizes the commitment to a balanced approach. Ultimately, the path forward will require resilience, creativity, and a willingness to adapt. The challenges are significant, but so are the opportunities for innovation and growth. Pause 2s. Inspirational footage of communities coming together and nations working in harmony paints a picture of a hopeful future. The border closure has been a test of endurance and unity, but it has also sparked a renewed sense of purpose. As both nations chart a path forward, there is a collective resolve to build a future that is secure, prosperous, and inclusive. Pause 2s. The journey ahead is complex, but with determination and cooperation, a brighter horizon is within reach. In the end, the border closure may serve as a catalyst for positive change, fostering a deeper understanding and a stronger bond between Canada and the United States. The future is unwritten, but the potential for a new era of collaboration and mutual respect is boundless. Pause 2s. The story continues, and with it, the promise of a better tomorrow. This chapter, while challenging, has also been an opportunity to reflect, innovate, and grow. As we move forward, let us do so with hope in our hearts and a shared vision of a brighter, more connected future. The journey is far from over, but with each step, we move closer to a world where borders are not barriers, but bridges to a better future.